Welcome to the root of all success with the Real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of The Root of All Success, the Real Jason Duncan. The Real Jason Duncan.
Welcome back to another episode of The Root of All Success. I am the Real Jason Duncan, and it's just me here with you today. This is going to be a short episode. Today is Friday, May 26th. We're going into Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, which means it's a weekend for us to enjoy our families, hang out. It's the official beginning of summer. So whatever you're doing with your family this weekend, I wish you well. I hope that you have a good time. I actually spent this entire week camping and riding motorcycles with my wife at Fall Creek Falls State Park here in Tennessee. We had a great week, and then today I'm actually flying down to Pensacola, Florida. I'll be speaking at an event all day on Saturday, and then flying home on Sunday, and then I'm going to spend my Memorial Day Monday riding motorcycle again. I just picked up a brand new motorcycle last weekend. I traded my Road Glide and I picked up a Harley Davidson Pan America, which is their new adventure bike they released a couple years ago. And I've always wanted an adventure bike, and so I'm really excited. I haven't had a chance to really ride it yet, so I'm hoping to get out and do some riding on that. But the topic of today's podcast episode is just going to be on what you're doing to stay balanced. So I just want to talk briefly about balance. And this is actually going to be a really good podcast to watch on YouTube. So if you want to go watch this, you can take a look at it, because I'm going to be using some visuals. I've got a little metal ruler here that I'm going to talk about and use as a visual. If you're listening to this, I'm going to do enough describing of it so that it should also make sense. But here's what I want to share with you. My vision. My vision as a podcaster, as a coach, a speaker, and an author is I want to see 100,000 entrepreneurs set free from the ironic prison of entrepreneurship. But I also, what that means to me is I want to see 100,000 entrepreneurs find true success and balance. True success and balance. I believe that many of us, you probably, are seeking success in life to the extent that you are ignoring things that are important to you. You know, I've been a coach for a few years now. Officially, I've been coaching people unofficially for a long time, but I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. And what I've discovered is that a lot of this hustle and grind culture that we hear so much about on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube is just BS. Because I truly believe that the hustle and grind culture that people talk about is actually hurting us. It's causing us to hurt ourselves, hurt our families, hurt our employees, and ultimately hurt our business. Because it's not true that building a successful business requires tons of hard work year in and year out. Sure, there's hard work in the beginning. I get it. And there's hard work throughout for people in your business. But as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, this shouldn't be hustle and grind all the time. Because what happens is we get out of balance when that occurs. And so if you have a family, if you're married, you got kids, you've got other interests, what happens is you get out of balance. And so from a visual standpoint, the thing in the center of a teeter-totter, if we look at this ruler that I'm showing you, I can find the center point in this ruler, if I can do this with my finger, and I can make this ruler balance, which you can see it's perfectly balanced on the tip of my finger right now. And it's a 1-foot silver metal ruler for those of you that are listening. And I've got my finger right at the 6-inch mark underneath that on the tip of my finger, and it is balanced. But what ends up happening is this fulcrum, which is the center of the teeter-totter, the center of this illustration is called a fulcrum. It's the thing upon which the lever balances or rests. And then what our life is representative is everything that we put on that lever. in this case, a ruler. So if as I'm doing visually right now, if you're watching this, if I push down at the 1 inch mark, it starts to get out of balance. And at some point, it will fall off the fulcrum because it can't stay there anymore, which it just did. That's where our life comes unraveled. That's where business comes unraveled. That's where bankruptcy happens. That's where divorce happens. That's where broken relationships. That's where alcoholism and drug addiction, depression, porn addiction. It's where negative things happen. It happens because we're out of balance. If you've ever driven a car that had a tire or wheel out of balance, you could feel it reverberating in your seat, maybe in the steering wheel. And you go to the store or the tire shop and you get it balanced, and then it gives you smooth riding. So this idea of balance is really, really, really important for you as an entrepreneur to consider. Because if you're running 100 miles an hour all the time and you're not taking time to balance your life, things can fall apart pretty quickly. So what does it look like? How do we balance? So I'm going to put this visual back up again. I've got my finger under the 6 inch mark and it's balanced perfectly on my finger right now. Now, what I would suggest to you is that you need to pull the most important things in your life as close to the center as possible. The unfortunate part of people talking about things called priorities is that they list them in most important, second most important, third most. For example, you could say, well, God is most important, my faith. Second is my spouse. Third is my kids. Fourth is family, community, and the fifth is job, whatever. You could list those things. But the problem with listing them as priorities is that it becomes a checklist. You get the first one done, you move to the second one. You get the second one done, you go to the third one, you get the third one. And then you forget that the first one's still important or the second one's still important by the time you get to the third or fourth one. So I prefer to visualize it as concentric circles, or as I'm showing right here, a lever on a fulcrum. And so to me, I would be transparent with you as my listeners on this podcast. The most important thing in the center of my life is my faith. I'm a proud follower of Jesus Christ, have been my whole life. He's the King, he's the Savior, he's the creator of the universe. And that's who I serve. That's who I follow. That is the most important relationship of my existence. The most important relationship in my physical life is my wife, Christy. We've been married now for 28 years. She's the most important thing. And then second only to her would be my kids, Jace and Kylie, my son and my daughter. And then you could continue to go on from there. Other relationships that are important to me. The other things that are important to me is fulfilling and living out my purpose as a coach, as a leader, as a teacher, part of which I get to exercise by leading you in this podcast on a regular basis. Here's the way I look at this. So if you're still looking at this on YouTube, you can see this ruler still balanced perfectly on my finger. And if I take all of those things, and let's say I put God way out here on one side, and I put my family out there because it's important, and then I put my business at the other side. That's what most people do, is they put the things they think are important on one side, and they put their business on the other side, and they end up running back and forth. So if you can see the visual, if you can imagine, if you're just listening to this, if I take take a weight, let's see, what could I use here on my desk? I could use this pen. Let me grab a pen. So if I take this pen and I put it on one side and just try to balance it, it's too much, and it'll make the whole lever fall off the fulcrum. So then I said, well, I'll balance it by I'll put my business on the other side and balance it out with God, balance it out with my relationships, balance it out with the things that are important to me. But the problem is you also are part of the weight. Now think about this for a second. So if you got on one side of your teeter-totter, one side of the lever that is your life, you've got God, family, relationships, whatever. And on the other side of the lever is your business. And you're trying to get what you call work-life balance, which everybody talks about, right? Work-life balance. You are part of the weight. So if you start out in the middle and you walk down the lever towards the work side, your family is ignored for a moment, and the teeter-totter, the lever starts tipping. And then you are like, oh, it's out of balance. So I got to run to the other side. And then you got to run back and forth. And what you end up is you actually have a life of a teeter-totter, back and forth, back and forth. And then when things get out of balance like that, you end up becoming more comfortable staying at one side or the other.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
Hey, I want to talk with you about one of my favorite tools as a salesperson and as an entrepreneur, and that tool is Dub. I want you to imagine for a minute getting an email from somebody, and instead of just being the plain old crappy text in an email, rather than just having a bunch of HTML where it's pictures and stuff, what if it was a video? And the video had a little GIF and it was playing right there in the email as soon as you opened it, and it had your name. Like it said, hello, Jason, check this out. And then you clicked play and it played right there in your inbox in the window. And it was somebody trying to tell you how great you are, or how awesome they can help you, how good they can help you out. That is the power of video emails. I want you to try Dub out. I've been using it for years. I have closed countless millions of dollars in sales over the last 6 years or so using Dub, and you can do it too. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. That's DUBB. Therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. Dub will help you make an impact in your sales through video. It's going to help you with, they've even got a CRM built into it. You can build landing pages. You can do campaigns, even SMS campaigns. You can set up automations to manage workflows and maximize conversions. And like I said, they've got an existing software platform inside Dub to take your CRM to the next level. Try this out. Get a free special just by being a listener to the podcast. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. Get 2 weeks to try it for free and 50% off your first 2 months. That's therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. 40 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had your business in the yellow pages. You remember those things? And 30 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a door-to-door salesman. 20 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a website. And today, you're not in business unless you're doing social media content. Am I right? Social media content. Social media content in the form of like micro content, which is 30 to 60 second spots on Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts. That's the way business is done. As a matter of fact, that may be how you found out about this podcast or me as a business coach. This medium that we're using today to communicate what we do is vitally important. And just recording yourself isn't enough. You've got to do it right. And my friends over at Story do it right. And one of the problems with doing it wrong is that you sit around thinking, well, what the heck am I going to record? What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Like, I don't know what to talk about. Well, Story takes all of that away from you. Stop wasting time trying to come up with content, because Story will send you a video prompt on what to record. You can pick the categories you want to record in, whether it's real estate, entrepreneurship, finance, relationship, leadership, life insurance. It could be anything. Don't waste time on that. And by the way, if you're not confident in talking on video, or if the video editing portion takes up way too much of your time, Story will edit the videos to perform well on social media. They add the subtitles, the pop-ups, the zoom cuts. They remove all the filler words like and and. They remove the awkward pauses. And then they take that video and post it for you. They write the captions, they add the relevant hashtags, and they post it on the platforms that you care about the most. It's exactly what you need to be in business today and to be successful at it. So if you want to learn how to do social media the way the influencers do, you need to go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. And that's story with 2 Y's. Why? Because they're awesome. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. That's STORYY for 10% off your first 3 months to try Story out. You're going to thank me later.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
And then your whole fulcrum gives away and the lever falls. So how can we prevent this? Well, I think you go back to, and I've got my finger now positioned under the 6-inch mark in the center as the fulcrum on this little lever as an illustration. You pull everything to the center. That's most important. You make your fulcrum the base of your life as big as possible, where your relationship with God, your faith, your relationship with your wife or your husband, the relationship with your kids, all the things that are most important are in the center. And then you start building out from there. So, okay, I'll put my business close to the center, but it's going to be on one side or the other. And then maybe leisure activities, like if you, like me, if you like to go camping and motorcycling, you put that on one side. And then you got maybe community activities or church activities. Maybe you got you're writing a book that goes out there, and you start building from the center, and it keeps your fulcrum wide and your lever balanced. Now, I realize that if you're not watching this, it could be kind of difficult to kind of get it. But this is all I wanted to share with you today. We're almost done, but I just wanted to share with you, this is about balance. The reason I want to see 100,000 entrepreneurs get true success and balance is that I think success can be a part of a balanced life, that you can live a balanced life, but you're not going to live a balanced life by running from one to the next. So if you are finding yourself on one end of your teeter-totter, so to speak, one end of your lever at your business more than anything else, and then you're running up the other side to get to your family, eventually that could lead to destruction. So as the Real Jason Duncan, as a coach, as a speaker, an author, podcaster, I want to encourage you to seek balance, to seek not just this work-life balance where work's on one side and life is on the other. This pull everything to the center that's most important to you and build out from the center. If you need help doing that, if you would like to talk, you can go to my website. In the footer of my website, there's a little button that says book a call, and we can talk. We can talk about that. It's completely free, and we can make time to talk together about how to get your life back in balance. Because that's what I want to see, 100,000 people just like you to get back in balance. So as you go out this weekend and you are enjoying your time with your family on Memorial Day weekend, enjoy it. This is what's most important. But then when you go back to work, on Tuesday after the holiday long weekend, don't get out of balance. So go to therealjasonduncan.com, scroll to the footer, book a call. Let's talk about how we can get you back in balance. Thank you for tuning in to this show. If you haven't yet subscribed or left a review, please do that. Also, go make sure you check out my best-selling book, Exit Without Exiting. You can pick this up at my website too. There's a main menu on the top of the website that says book. Just click on that. This is only $15.99, free shipping. And if you want my signature, it's only an extra $5. We'll send it out to you immediately. We're so glad that you're listening. I'm so glad that you're here. Tune in again next time when I talk with either another successful entrepreneur or I share some individual perspective on a solo episode. But thank you for tuning in to The Root of All Success. Until next time, I'm the Real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners.
Attention business owners.
Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.